Good morning. Welcome both in the sanctuary and online live in YouTube to the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, Florida. My name is Ben Atherton-Zeman, and I'm the minister here. We are on the unceded ancestral lands of the Tokubega and Seminole Native people. I am very excited to bring you today's worship service, Earning Vulnerability Through Safety, along with today's worship associate, Natalie Bantz.
Thank you.
Natalie fans.
Thanks, Ben. If you want a church where we see our community is made up of more than just our members, but everyone in our city, our state, our country, and the world, then congratulations, you may have found your church home. We have 3 announcements today. Mingles events are for building community and having fun while we make a little money through UUSP. Tickets for the next 3 Mingle events will be on sale during coffee hour.
Great. Our second announcement, next week is Bring a Friend Week. Our choir's performing, our bell wingers are performing, so if you have someone who you think would like us, who you think we could benefit from their presence, who you think it would be a good match for, next week is the week to invite them.
Our third announcement is about a major social justice action on March 27th at 7 p.m. UUSP, as part of FAST, wants over 2,500 to attend as a show of power to elected officials and all the media. We're focusing on the issues of affordable housing, clean water, and criminal justice in Pinellas County. See more info and a sign-up sheet in coffee hour. Please read the rest of your announcements in the order of service or in our weekly newsletter.
All right, great. Thank you, Natalie. It's her first time as worship associate. I think she's doing well. What do you think? Yeah. Now, as Unitarian Universalists, we are a people of diverse beliefs, but we do share a common faith that what we do in this world matters, that we are connected to one another and to the earth. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here. Any newcomers or relative newcomers want to give a wave of your hand? I've seen one of you, a couple of you. Cool, well, welcome. I only saw 2 hands, but it's great to hear from you even briefly, your name and while you're here. You're under no obligation, but part of Natalie's job is to come down with the microphone if you are willing to do so. Okay, she's willing.
Good morning. I'm Ellen Harvey, and I'm a member of the Aiken, South Carolina Unitarian Universalist Church, where after 35 years, we just got our first installed minister. So it's lovely to see such a robust congregation, and this is my niece, and her name is Charlotte.
Charlotte. Welcome. Anyone else? Raise your hand, she comes to you. There he is. Hi.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
That was my favorite phrase, by the way. I'm here solely because I was able to take my schnauzer for a walk. My favorite phrase is, there he is, and he welcomes me. My name is Bob, and I'm from South St. Pete, and I've been meaning to come here for a while, so looking forward to meeting you all.
Bob, it's great to have you. Welcome. And your schnauzer, too. Anyone else? One more?
I'm Marilyn Carlson. I've been going to King of Peace, and I know I've sung in the choir with John and James, and I'm happy to be here.
Great, I'm happy you're here too. Thank you all for silencing your cell phones. For safety's sake and to protect the vulnerable, we encourage everyone to wear a mask, but that's up to you. Let's take a moment to greet our neighbor, and speaking of safety, ask their permission if you're going to hug them or shake their hand. And Charlotte, if you want to, now's the time to come up. That's probably that handheld.
The flaming chalice is the symbol of the UU Church. In lighting this chalice, a connection is made between us and our many ancestors throughout the aeons and across diverse cultures and religious traditions, as they would light sacred fires as reminders of hope and renewal even in the darkest of times. We light the chalice and know that the same strength they found within themselves in those moments can be discovered here and now within us. When Charlotte, with the help of Ellen, lights our chalice, I invite you to say our covenant out loud. The words can be found within your programs and online in the text chat. Feel free to follow along with the two hand movements. And love is the spirit of this church, and serve its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace and seek the truth in love, and to help
one another.
Now please rise as you are willing and able for our first hymn, Gather the Spirit. It's number 347 in the gray hymnal.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in stone. Seeds for love and conscience we find. With melody and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one.
Please be seated. I want to welcome any children to come forward for our time of all ages, led by Reverend Ben and our Director of Religious Education and Communications.
All right, Janae, where do you want them?
So before you sit down, I want you guys to face me today.
So we'll go
have
like
a seat on the floor.
down there. That's it, just like that. Well done. Good to see you guys.
Hello.
Cool. It's
I
a
see that.
pacifier. All right, so by a show of hands, how many of you have ever felt sad? Yeah, pretty much, and adults too, yeah. So when you feel, I start with a softball. When you feel sad, do you ever talk to somebody about it? Who do you talk to?
My mom.
Your mom. Great. Does anyone ever talk to you when they're sad? Are you a good friend to somebody? Yeah, Ashby.
Some people talk to me when they're feeling really sad, and they like to talk to me a lot.
Yeah. How does that feel when they talk to you when they're sad? How's that feel for you?
I feel happy that I can help them.
Exactly. You feel happy you can help them. It's Ashby. And that's a real compliment, isn't that? That's a real gift when somebody feels safe enough with us to talk to us when they're sad. And we can accept that gift well and gracefully and respectfully, or we can not do it so well and so gracefully. So Janae and I, you guys, Janae and I are about to do a role play, and she's going to listen to me. First time she's going to be really great and respectful. The first time she's going to be respectful, and the second time she's not going to do it right. Janae, did you hear that my dog Lufa died?
You know, I heard. How are you holding up?
Honestly, it's super sad. I mean, it was 6 weeks ago last Friday, and she was like our child. We didn't have human children. We had this dog. So we're both really sad. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. If you need to talk to somebody, you can talk to me.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. How'd she do? Yeah, she did good. Exactly. All right. Let's try it again. Janae, did you hear that my dog Lufa died? Janae? Remember
sorry.
Lufa, my dog I used to bring into work?
Oh,
so
I'm
she
sorry.
died.
You know, I found this picture online, and I think we should have it,
Okay,
hanging at
great.
the church.
Yeah, thank you. That's thoughtful. That is her. Yeah, and that's nice that you did the picture. I just wanted to tell you I was sad. I didn't need you to do a picture.
Well, I think if we just hang the picture up at the church, I think this will be really nice.
Again, it's a little soon, and that's her big face in my face. So I appreciate what you're trying to do.
I mean, well, we could keep her memory alive,
Yeah, her memory's alive. Thanks.
Okay.
How'd she do that time? Boo. Yeah, not so good.
0.
So I was being vulnerable. That's the word of the day. When I'm sad and I talk about it, that's something vulnerable. And you are going to learn more about that in your classes. So let us sing them out to our class, to their classes.
On your feet.
Go now in peace, go.
I have been reflecting lately on patience. Patience is woven into the very threads of creation. We wait for a flower to bloom, for a child to be born, for the tide to find its way back to the shore. Yet in our society, we have become acclimated to seeing a long wait as something to avoid. For whatever we are wanting, we want it to happen right away. For our food to get to our table as soon as possible, for our call to be returned within a day. I was given a lesson in patience when I met my best friend Joseph 12 years ago. I was a sophomore in college, and Joseph had just turned 30 and worked in the IT department of the university. We met at a mutual friend's party, and I can't say for certain what it was that made us click right away, but we began spending much of our time together, browsing record stores and taking long drives through the countryside. You might assume that this story will take a turn towards the romantic, but it doesn't. I learned much later from Joseph that he was well aware that I was much younger than him and in a vulnerable place in my life. From middle school through high school, I had been subjected to intense and daily bullying by boys. I felt I was ugly, I was afraid to use my voice for fear of drawing attention to myself, and even simply walking by a group of young men on campus would fill me with intense anxiety. Joseph didn't know these things because it was too painful for me to talk about, but he saw the lack of value I had in myself. And rather than using it to manipulate me, he became a kind of brother to me. He seemed to always find gentle ways to remind me of my worth. and there was a moment during one of our drives when the sun had set and we were at a crossroads in the woods, heading back home. I had been telling him about how much I was worried that it was my personality that was the problem, that my idiosyncrasies and faults would always be too much for others. As he slowed down at the stop sign, the headlights illuminated the different roads ahead. He turned and looked at me. "You deserve your own life, Natalie," he said. "Don't ever lose who you are for other people." He understood this better than I knew at the time. Joseph was a combat veteran who had done 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. I hadn't understood why there were days when I just couldn't reach him, why he would cancel plans suddenly, lock himself inside his house. It was many months before he finally told me he had been diagnosed with PTSD. But it wasn't until months after that, in another moment after nightfall, in the dim light of my basement apartment, that he told me about the things that had happened to him on the fields of war, that had rent his spirit apart and left him with shame and horror engraved on his being, left him questioning whether he even still had his humanity. I don't remember exactly how I responded then, but I wanted so badly for him to understand how I saw him, as absolutely human, intensely human, and in the selfless care and compassion he had shown me, the best of what humanity had to show for itself. In the years since then, we've watched each other heal. He has told me it was in part our friendship that made him finally want to seek out that healing for himself. But in truth, it was the same for me. It was the pure love he had for me that helped me see my own value. And it is knowing my value and finding my voice through it that has allowed me to say this in front of all of you today. So remember that love is patient, love is kind, but love is patience itself. Love is kindness. And it is through them we transform.
Thank you, Natalie. Now it's the time in our worship service for joys, sorrows, and concerns. You on YouTube Live, we haven't forgotten about you. You are not here physically, but your presence is felt. Please write your joys, your sorrows in the text chat. For the rest of you, many of you have written me about your joys and sorrows this week. You still have time. There are cards in front of you if you want to write one quickly, and maybe you or someone else can bring it up. Right now, Earl will place a stone in the water. Thank you, Earl, for each one of these that was submitted.
The first stone is from Todd Wellman, and it's a stone of sorrow. Last week, we lost Judith Heumann, a giant in the world of disability rights. She was featured in the movie Crip Camp, and her celebration of life can be viewed from the link on our Facebook group. May her memory be a blessing.
And the second stone is from many of us, and it's also a stone of sorrow. We lost a beloved member of the UU St. Pete community this past week, Rosemary Yako. Karen Cole on Facebook said that she remembers vividly an enthusiastic woman with dark gray curly hair, clothed in dresses made from beautiful African cloth that she acquired while serving as a director of an English language program, at the American Cultural Center in Benin, West Africa. Academically, Rosemary was quite accomplished, with a BA and MA and PhD degrees from the University of Michigan. She was a Fulbright professor, served as an instructor at the University of Michigan, where she was also the co-director of the writing workshop and founded the Teaching English as a Foreign Language Association of Benin. Rosemary's daughter, Sonia, may be listening today. Sonia, we send you our blessings, our love, and our light. And she's told me she's coming to St. Pete either later this spring or this summer. She would love to meet with anyone at that point who remembers her mother.
A stone of sorrow from Ryan Richardson for all his friends and coworkers at St. Luke's Hospital in Maumee, Ohio. The hospital is being shuttered after 50 years, and the town will lose its only hospital.
A stone of joy from me and from many others. We have a new office coordinator. And many of you know her as the co-founder of WAMP, the Women's Advocacy Movement of Pinellas County. Please welcome Cheyenne Collins. It's her first day at work.
A Stone of Joy from Virginia Fox for International Women's Day, March 8th, celebrating all humanist women, past and present, leading the fight for progressive feminist issues in human rights, politics, arts, education, social services, and much more.
A Stone of Joy from Mary Cooch. Are you here, Mary? I haven't seen you. Hey, Mary. Hi, John. Welcome back. The two of them, Mary and John, have just returned from a month in South America. It's good to see you both. Do you have any cards? I have one. From A Stone of Concern from Gordia and Danny regarding the multiple anti-drag and anti-trans legislation being pushed through by our Governor Ron DeSantis. Boo. And Ryan says there's an actual protest in Tallahassee tomorrow, and we're having WAMP is actually sponsoring one here next week, Sunday afternoon. Thanks, Ryan. Let's place one more stone for the joys and concerns that remain in our hearts, perhaps too tender to be spoken out loud, and may we bring to mind and hold close to our hearts Sonia Yako, Ryan's friends from St. Luke's Hospital, those of us who are trans and who are made vulnerable by this legislation, all of us that are known and that are unknown who are facing challenges and health concerns.
May we strive to ensure the safety and rights of workers everywhere are protected and upheld, including their right to affordable health care.
May we all find a comforting and compassionate presence in the warmth of fellowship and community. Usually I say this at the end, but we had a suggestion to do the minute of silence after we sing Spirit of Life. So we're going to try that. Let us know how it works. The mystery is that we are connected even when we feel apart. So let us rejoice in the beloved community that makes of the many one. So may it be. We'll sing Spirit of Life together, and then we'll take about a minute of silence. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning.
Morning,
I'm Cal Fox, and I have a riddle for you this morning. I first heard it read by an Irishman with a very thick brogue. And so to honor himself, whose special day comes up this Friday and turns all of us Irish for one day, I ask your indulgence as I say it as I first heard it. It costs nothing, but creates much. It enriches those who receive without impoverishing those who give. It takes but a moment, but the memory of it sometimes lasts a lifetime. None is so rich or mighty that he cannot get along without it, and none is so poor that he cannot be made richer by it. Yet it cannot be bought, begged, borrowed, or stolen, for it is something that is of no value to anyone until it is given away. So if you find someone without one, give them one of yours, for none needs one so much as one who has none left to give. Can you guess what it is? 'Tis a smile. Now, that little riddle talks of different things that a smile does, different kinds of smiles, if you will. It seems an appropriate symbol for the pledge campaign that we're currently in, to me, because coming here to this place, to our place, and with you people, always gives me a smile. It's a smile of relaxation, the kind of smile you might see on the face of someone enjoying a happy memory, or a soothing meditation, or a feeling of being home. This is a spiritual home for me. Here I get my spiritual nourishment and relax into the easy chair of being with people who share basic values and visions of growth for us all. I want to keep the lights on for a place like this, so I'm happy to commit what I can to make it happen. I hope you feel the same. Thank you.
Oh, Cal, you have us all smiling. Speaking of making a commitment to keep the lights on, last Sunday after Todd sang, there were people saying, "Wow, what a song. It makes me want to pledge. Give me a pledge card. I feel like pledging right now." So if that's you, raise your hand, and Mason or Virginia will come and bring you a pledge card. You can fill it out and turn it into John Motter at happy hour. What do we call that? Coffee hour. And a lot of people, okay. And a lot of people have already pledged. So, and you can see, because we're wearing a smiley face. If you already pledged and you didn't get your smiley face sticker, you can get one at coffee hour. So, so Todd will sing.
Happy hour, that's excellent. This song features a character who desperately wants to be safe to be with other people. Safe behind these windows and these parapets of stone, gazing at the people down below me. All my life I watch them as I hide up here alone, hungry for the histories they show me. All my life I memorize their faces, knowing them as they will never know me. All my life I wonder how it feels to pass a day not above them, but part of them. And out there, living in the sun, give me one day out there, ask is one to hold forever out there where they all live unaware. What I'd give, what I'd dare, just to live one day out there amongst the millers and the weavers and their wives. Through the roofs and gables I can see them. Every day they shout and scold and go about their lives, heedless of the gift it is to be them. If I were in their skin, I'd treasure every instant out there, strolling by the Seine. Taste the morning out there like ordinary men who freely walk about there just one day, and then I swear I'll be content with my share. Won't resent, won't despair, old and bent, I won't care. I'll have spent one day out
Thank you, Todd. What? And thank you, Cal. You both brought a smile to me face. So we do themes here at UU St. Pete, those of you who are new, and this is our second worship in the March theme of vulnerability. We talked last week about being who you truly are, and especially if your identity has been marginalized by the dominant culture, in particular the culture of this state, like drag queens are, like trans people are. Some of you came in drag today and you look gorgeous. Thank you for coming in drag. YouTube. She said, "Thanks, Daddy." So this week, I mean, this is a great moment. I mean, right after your song about somebody listening from the parapets and do I dare go out and like okay, I'll go out, and that's from the perspective of the person who is vulnerable. But what's our job then as the people who are out, the people who are the culture, the larger environment? Welcome, good to see you. It's our job to earn that kind of vulnerability through being safe. And how do we do that? Because it's a huge gift when you two come in drag looking as fabulous as you do. It's a gift when John Motter shares with us what his life was like as a young gay man. It's a gift when Beth tells us about her experiences as a disabled woman, or when Janae and Ariana tell us about their experiences as black women, or when Natalie tells about her experiences as a girl being bullied and teased by boys. And the rest of us need to be worthy of those gifts. Because black people are not obligated to tell whites about racism and their painful experiences with it. LGBTQIA+ people are not obligated to educate heterosexuals about homophobia, about transphobia, about biphobia. disabled people it's not your job to teach us all about ableism. It's our job as able-bodied people, those of us who are able-bodied, to do the work. And same with women and girls and women-identified people. It's men's job to learn about this stuff. And it is a risk for any marginalized person to say, hey, this happened to me. And it is thus a gift when it does happen, and we should treat it like a gift. Why is it a risk? It is a risk because the reaction might not be good. Like Janae's reaction when I pretended to tell her about my dog dying and she shoved a picture of my dog in my face. So in her real life example, really she is a better listener than that. We were acting. But when Janae tells me about something racist that happened to her, I can react in several ways that are not good. And we've already talked about one of them. I would sometimes get really, really mad. I can't believe that happened to you, which had the effect of making her not want to upset me and thus not come to me with these things. That loud feeling on my part unintentionally centered me as a white person and made me less safe. And another reaction that I haven't done, but many white people do, is just straight up not believing her. Just undermining the story, gaslighting, saying, oh, I'm sure they didn't mean it, or, oh, that's just so-and-so. They have this and that going on in their life. Again, centers the white person in the story, takes the attention away from the harm, from the racism. And then a flip side of that reaction is to focus on the individual person who committed the racist act rather than the larger pattern. So let's go talk to that person and teach them what they did wrong so they won't say the thing again. And that might be a good first step, but usually when Janae's telling me something, she's telling me not just about the individual story, she's telling me about this consistent, repeated pattern. One more question is what Janae did about my dog, is asking probing questions that she might not want to answer. So Janae telling me how racism affects her, we've talked about this, is a gift. I like gifts. So I might want more. I'll say, wow, really? That sounds intense. You get pulled over for being black, and they handcuffed you, and they sat you down, and they searched the car, and there was nothing there? That sounds terrible. What town was that? Who were you with? When was this? And these are some reasons why people who are marginalized don't always want to be vulnerable. Stay inside, as Todd's song said, rather than coming to places like this church. Granted, there are many people who are marginalized, who are targets of oppression, who are willing to speak about their experiences. And that's how I learned about men's violence against women and patriarchy, which is what led me to my previous career before ministry in domestic violence and sexual assault prevention. Lots and lots of women gave me those gifts, shared what it was like, not just to be victims of overt violence, but to just be female in the world. The daily violence of sexual harassment, being interrupted by men, being paid less than men, having their work taken credit for. I see some women nodding. And I treated their stories like diamonds and took them to heart. And really, these women and what they shared with me shaped me as a feminist, as now a minister. But it wasn't their job to educate me. It was my job to be trustworthy. Natalie and I spent quite a bit of time preparing for this worship service, and one of the things she told me about was previous communities that she had attended, and these spaces emphasized, quote, radical vulnerability, which seems like a great sentiment until you're the one who doesn't particularly feel like being vulnerable, and everyone else in the circle has shared deeply from their personal experience, and then they look at you, and you're like, I pass. And you kind of stick out, and it feels a bit like maybe even mandating or coercing the vulnerability, although it was never said out loud, I don't think. And in my opinion, it's the community spaces that need to do the work to be safer, and then once that happens, folks will feel and be safe enough to share vulnerability. So I don't think it's a good idea to have this idea we're radically vulnerable here. I think we earn it by being safe. Does that make sense? Okie doke. So specifically here at UU St. Pete, as we begin to do our work to eliminate racist microaggressions, we must strive to be a safer and more trustworthy space. And white people in the room, I'll talk to you for a second, fellow white people, when BIPOC folks are brave enough to tell us what's happened, let's not center ourselves, our feelings, our reactions. Let's not certainly question the reality that is their lives. And let's not look for quick Band-Aid solutions. Let's not get impatient. It takes time to change the culture, but let us commit to doing the work. Let us commit to being trustworthy. Let's earn that vulnerability by creating safety. Let's listen with both our minds and with our hearts. Now, I've been asked to define BIPOC. Not everyone is familiar with that term. It stands for Black, Indigenous, People of Color. The term has been in use since 2013, but it gained more wide use after the murder of George Floyd. But Ben, why not just use people of color? That's just a perfectly good term too. Well, I'm glad you asked. I use it because BIPOC people or people of color have asked me to. It is used including in UU circles, to in particular highlight the unique relationship to whiteness that indigenous and black people have. Well, hold on, Ben. I know somebody African American who doesn't like the term BIPOC. I don't like it either. Okay, that's fine, other me. Let's have that discussion about BIPOC, because at UU St. Pete, we don't agree on things like, is there a God? What does God look like? The afterlife? You know, there are gonna be other things we don't agree on, but, and this is important, let's not let those discussions get in the way of our work to undo white supremacy, right? Specifically, let's continue our work to undo racist microaggressions right here at UU St. Pete. We talked in the announcements about the Nehemiah action. In 2 weeks, we're getting on the bus. How many of you are getting on the bus? Awesome. It's the culmination of a year's work with FAST, which stands for Faith in Action and for Strength Together. So Pat Fling, I haven't seen you here. There, Pat and John Motter over here, and many of you have done hard work all year on issues of affordable housing, decriminalization, climate change, and we've done this side by side with people from many other churches, and some don't like the way FAST works. It's a very specific way that they do their work, starting with house meetings, a lot of listening, and a generation from the bottom up of what the community's issues are. It's, I think, a fantastic way to do this work, but it does take a lot of time, and that makes some people impatient, and me impatient sometimes. So we can have that conversation. Maybe FAST could do us work better and make those suggestions, but also let's not let that get in the way of showing up to the Nehemiah action. We get to share the bus with our neighbors, the historic AME Bethel Church. That's going to be great. Imagine that bus. And some of you maybe don't like them. They're very Christian. We tend to have less of a Christian vibe here in the UU church, and they are very Christian. And so are most of the churches in the FAST network, although there are some Jewish synagogues as well. I mean, just last week, some of you were there with me in front of City Hall, trying to urge Mayor Welch to fulfill some campaign promises about affordable housing units, and there were a lot of Catholics. We were there for a long time. We sang many hymns. We read many psalms. These Catholic colleagues represent a church that dehumanizes gay and lesbian people, bisexual people, transgender people, intersex people, people who seek abortion care. And then yesterday, like 2 days later, I was at a reproductive freedom rally with Cheyenne and others, that Cheyenne and others organized. I looked over because there was another side, and I wondered if I'd see the same people I had just sang hymns with, like in front of City Hall. I did not, but I could have. And if I did, we would have gotten to have this complicated, awkward conversation about where our beliefs are the same and about where they are different. But I bet we would have still shown up at the next FAST event and still sang hymns next to one another, still read psalms. I bet we would have continued to work on affordable housing, on decriminalization, on climate change. And here at UU St. Pete, we can disagree on terms like BIPOC, on even if whether we approve of the eighth principle. We did a straw poll, and the vast majority approve the eighth principle. Some people want more information. Some people voted no. We get to disagree on things like that. We get to disagree with one another. We get to disagree with me. But let's not let that stop us from working to stop racist microaggressions against BIPOC people who are our members, against BIPOC people who are our leaders, against BIPOC people who are staff. Let's agree that when they give us that gift of vulnerability, telling white people what it's like for them to be here, we won't disbelieve them, we won't gaslight them, we won't interrupt them, we won't explain it away, or force them to tell it over and over. Let's create safety so that we're worthy of this vulnerability. Let's create safety so that someday our church membership will reflect the racial and age diversity in the community around us. It's not going to happen right away. It took a long time before Joseph, Natalie's friend, trusted her enough to share what happened to him in the military, the things he had done, how it made him feel about himself. And when he did, she treated that vulnerability like the gift that it was. And if we do the same, then we will indeed live out our mission. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather there to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise the all-important generosity of spirit, an offering to this self-supporting church and its ministries. In the sanctuary, the offering will now be given and received.
John and James aren't here this week, and I'm glad you clapped for Ryan. It's been wonderful working with you this week, Ryan. We picked up that Eric Satie piece together. It's interesting having a discussion. What's a piece of music that is vulnerable? And yeah, please join me in thanking Ryan for your work this week. Thank you. Please rise as you are willing and able for our closing hymn, number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. Come sing a song with me, come sing a song with me, come sing a song with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll give you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me, or roll. Come walk in rain with me, or roll. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope, and hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Please remain standing as you're willing and able as we extinguish our chalice. The hand gestures are light of truth, warmth of love, fire of courage. As Natalie extinguishes our chalice, the words are in your order of service or online in the text chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts out to the world. Please have a seat as Aaron plays our postlude. Ryan, not Aaron.
Our closing words are by Reverend Scott Taylor. Vulnerability is a doorway. As we go, may we remember that we were never meant to make it through this life alone. Vulnerability is a doorway, friends. Those wounded and tender pieces of ourselves help us return to each other. What seems wounded or unworthy, when shared, becomes our strength. May it be so. Please join us for coffee hour in Gilmore Hall. Blessings.